And people want to know why you should always use a 20 megahertz channel width on 802.11 on the 2.4 gigahertz. And let me show you why. Oh, they don't have it. The beacon doesn't have it. Let's see real quick. Let's see if the UDM base has it under the... Okay, so when you're dealing with an RF environment and you're in the 2.4 gigahertz range and you're running on a 20 megahertz channel in the United States, you have 3 non-overlapping channels. It's 1, 6, and 11. If you look, this is one of the best things that Ubiquiti added into their controller is this visualization of the 2G and the 5G environments. So you can see 1, 6, and 11 on a 20 megahertz channel. There's 3 non-overlapping channels, and those are the channels that we should strive to always use in our designs. Because you can see all of the interference that we introduce with these other channels. Now, if you run a 40 megahertz channel, there is no non-overlapping channels. You can see everything interferes with everything else on a 40 megahertz channel. Do not use 40 megahertz channels in the 2.4 gigahertz. In 2020, there's probably absolutely no valid design reasons. If there is, put them in the comments, but I don't think that there's a valid design reason to use a 40 megahertz channel on 2.4 gigahertz. So I'm sure there are Wi-Fi experts out there who could tell me why they should run 40 megahertz channels and create all kinds of problems in the air. All right, so if we flip over to 5G, and by the way, if you've ever worked with me, you know that I use this chart frequently. It's one of the most used things in the Unifi controller for me right now when I'm explaining this. So on 5 gigahertz, when we're using 20 megahertz channels, these are all of the overlapping channels. At 40 megahertz, which is pretty much the default that we're using for design, you get all of these channels. 80 megahertz, you get these channels, and 160 megahertz, you get those channels. Now, as you start combining those, you could, if somebody else was in the same area and they're running 5 gigahertz, we can cause all kinds of interference with each other's when we do these. So if you are deploying Wi-Fi, hey, Tom Lawrence is here, and he says the valid use case is because I can. And Tom, you are 110% right. People will do it just because we can, and not me. I stay away from that. But this is every time that I'm working with somebody, I use this because, like I said, it's one of the most useful things inside of the controller to show people how to use these. Now, if you've got a neighbor and they've got 5 gigahertz and they're running on a 40 megahertz channel, there are enough channels that you should be able to not interfere in the 5 gigahertz band. So it's very, very interesting. And Tom is right. Because they can does not mean that they should, right? And that's absolutely right. So I did a large outdoor mall installation, and the 2 gigahertz was actually so trashed we disabled it, and we're running 5 gigahertz channels only. So we designed it, we installed it, we've handed it off to another company, not because they didn't want us to support it, because they took our installation and folded it into their regular IT services. So and I don't know what they've done with this now, but yeah, this 40 megahertz, this is where we're at, 80 megahertz, but you should always be, since we're in public bands, you should always be looking out for other people and trying to not cause interference, especially in all these public bands. If you can not cause interference, that's the best case scenario. And then somebody also asked me about, let's see if I can bring up the radio. Let's look at the 5 gigahertz configuration. So all of these DFS channels, people are often confused about what DFS is, and simply just remember this. Like, there's a lot more that can go into it, but DFS is basically radar, right? And so what happens when you're using a DFS channel is your radio will listen and see if there's anything transmitting on these channels. And there's a timer, and there's a back off timer, and there's all the math that goes into this. But basically, if there's anything any radar that transmits on these frequencies gets priority. So if we detect a radar hit, we're going to drop our traffic. That back off timer is going to go into play, and then we're going to look for a clear to send. And a lot of times I will run into customers who are using DFS, and they're like, I'm having problems with my Wi-Fi, and I'm getting all these radar hits in my logs and all this other stuff. And I mean, if you're close to some place that has radar, airports, things like that, you could see this. But these channels, because that is in the public band, but it is DFS, these channels, when somebody who's transmitting radar needs to transmit on those, they get the preference. And so you'll always see, if you're reading release notes from all these different manufacturers, is they are waiting for their devices to get, DFS approval and all that stuff. So there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into making sure that you're designing your Wi-Fi experience correctly. And it's got to do with channels, channel width. It's got to do with transmit power. Now you can see by default, this UDM base is boldly transmitting on an 80 megahertz channel. Now that's out of the box. I haven't adjusted this. So it's very interesting that it's doing that. I've not paid attention to that until now. But if you have Unify, and there are other manufacturers, Grandstream, Ingenious, they all have some version of this chart. This chart is absolutely awesome. So you've got me on a tangent. So let's real quick take a look at how I do my cells. And so when we're designing, so we're going to use this shape. This is the most common shape that you will see when we're talking about this. So when we're designing in the 2.4 gigahertz, what you're doing is, since you've got 3 non-overlapping channels, let me see if I can fine-tune this with the mouse or with the keyboard. Oh, come on. You know what? That's close enough for this. This is not going to be resold or whatever to anybody. I wonder why that one. Look at that. Okay, anyway, so you've got 3 access points in your design. The way you're going to design this is that I'm going to use on the now this is 2.4 gigahertz. There's a different way that we lay out the 5 gigahertz. It's similar, but we have more channels to play with. So here's our 2.4 gigahertz. So here's access point number 1. This is the output from access point number 1. So we're going to put that one on channel number 1. This one's going to go to channel number 6, so we're not creating interference between the two. And you have to remember, at this point, we will have tuned the power output as well. By the way, if you don't know this, auto power on Ubiquiti access points is high. So if your power is on auto, it's going to be high. And that's, so 1, 6, and 11. Okay, Willie, I've got 3 access points. I've got them tuned. Everything's working well. I need to add a 4th access point. Okay, so we'll add a 4th access point. Now, what channel do you think that this is actually going to be? Can anybody in the comments tell me what 2.4 gigahertz channel I am going to put in that shape? I'll wait a few seconds and see if somebody can tell me based on everything that I just droned on about. So, yes, Sean Woods is absolutely correct. We are going to go with channel number 1 there. All right, so I'm going to create another channel. So get your brains ready. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to put this over here. Now here's access point number 5. What channel am I going to put this access point on? Yes, James and Sean, everybody is correct. So this access point is going to go on channel number 6. All right, we're going to keep doing this. All right, so now I'm going to put one here. What channel is this access point going to go on? I'm waiting. Everybody tell me what channel this access point is going to go on. 11, absolutely. So this is how we're going to get started in designing the 2.4 gigahertz layout. And you would not believe the amount of installs that I get into that were done by professionals. And I will log in, and all of the access points are on the same channel, and they're not even using like zero handoff, which, by the way, do not use zero handoff with Ubiquiti. There's no need for it if you design things properly. But I'll log in, everything will be on high, everything will be on the same channel, and I'm like, you want to know why your stuff doesn't work? Because somebody didn't tune these access points appropriately. And they said, well, they did. No, they didn't. They guessed. They didn't do a site survey. They didn't work with you to see what your needs were. They don't understand how to tune access points. So this is something that is very easy to just play around with and tune your 2.4 gigahertz. So let's talk about 5 gigahertz, right? Oh, real quick, before we design 5 gigahertz here in the channel, can somebody in the comments tell me, when I'm working with 2.4 gigahertz and I'm working with 5 gigahertz in my design, what are a couple of the, obviously the frequencies are different, but what are the advantages of 2.4 gigahertz and what are the advantages of 5 gigahertz? And then are those advantages also directly downsides? Can somebody answer that in the comments? I know somebody can answer it. So let's see what you come up with here. I know somebody's pounding away on their keyboard frantically trying to get this answer out there right now. And if you all don't get it, then I will. Okay, so the answers are starting to come in. So 2.4 gigahertz, the way that the propagation works is we can easily penetrate more or different types of objects easily. So the higher you get in the frequencies, the easier things get blocked. And just in real world applications, when we're doing installations of point-to-point wireless out in parks, we're using 900 megahertz because we're going to get the best penetration through canopy at 900 megahertz. If we don't have heavy canopy, then we might go with a 2.4 gigahertz solution, because 900 megahertz, the problem that we're running into now is SCADA systems, and we're also running into all these new smart meters that they're installing on homes and businesses, all run in that 900 megahertz range. So even in the most rural areas, we can start running into in-band interference in the 900 megahertz range. So so 2.4 gigahertz is going to give us it's going to give us better distance, but it's going to give us less speed. So then 5 gigahertz, right? Look at your data sheets, and 5 gigahertz is going to give you better throughput, but less distance. 60 gigahertz is going to give you awesome throughput and way less distance. So that's why when they talk about doing 60 gigahertz microcells, those microcells have to be placed every couple hundred meters or whatever the distance is. Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure what that is. But that 60 gigahertz, you get a hell of a throughput on 60 gigahertz, but you get a much smaller range out of those. So, okay, so here's what we're doing. We're looking at, this is going to be our 5 gigahertz. So just the distance, I'm going to make our 2.4 gigahertz cells larger than our 5 gigahertz, right? So by the way, this is not aimed at Tom, and I want to make that clear. So Tom, this is not aimed at you. And I want to preface that because Tom is on the live stream, Tony's on the live stream. Any of you guys that are on the live stream that do this professionally, besides me, this is not aimed at you, but this is a good lesson in how to do this because a lot of people don't understand it. Even people selling Wi-Fi don't understand this. And that's the dual-edged sword of the wild, wild west that is IT, because this gear is so inexpensive, people can buy it, but they don't properly understand how to deploy it no matter who the manufacturer is. And when things go wrong, then they blame it on the manufacturer, when really it's their own fault for not understanding the equipment and the limits and things of the equipment. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate a few of these. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Over here in our, man, I have got something weird going on with the sizes on these, which is why they're not lining up properly. So let's delete this one. Maybe this one will line up properly. I don't know. It's freaking me out, to be honest with you, that they're not lining up perfectly over here. Yeah. But here's what we're doing. We are we are going to design this in the 40 megahertz. We're going to design this with 40 megahertz. Gosh darn it, with 40 megahertz channels, right? So we're going to go over to, oh my gosh. Okay. That honeycomb's a lot better than that honeycomb. So we're going to hop back over real quick over to our UDM. We're going to hop over to 5 gigahertz. We are now working in the 40 megahertz channel. All of our neighbors are working in the 40 megahertz channel. So let's say that our neighbors are capitalizing 38 through 62. So what channel, what if I'm gonna give you a hint. So we're gonna hop over here and we're gonna make this first one 102. All right, what is my next channel gonna be according to that chart? Can anybody tell me what my next channel is gonna be? It's not gonna be 6. It's not gonna be channel 6. This is 5 gigahertz, not 2.4 gigahertz. So what is my next channel gonna be? Remember how we looked at that? So we got 102 as a starting. Our neighbor's using these, so we're going to stay away from these channels. So what's our next channel going to be? Anybody? Anybody? Going once, going twice? All right, so we could do 102 for our first one. Then we'll go to 110. All right, then we're going to go to 118. And Sean, what's going to come after 118? Can you let me know? Holy cow, we lost like 22 people off of the live stream. Did the live stream go away? Live stream is still good. Yeah. All right, so yeah, we lost a ton of people on the live stream. Don't know what happened. Oh, the stream cut out. That is unfortunate. Yeah, I'm sure that YouTube is under load. I'm sure that weird. Okay, that's fine. So we'll keep going. All right, so Sean told us what was our next channel? Sean, let's see here. 126, is that right? 126, 118 to 126. So this is going to be channel 126. All right, what's my next channel after 126? Next channel after 126. Hopefully people are refreshing the... that's unnerving to watch your live stream go from like 92 people down to 63. Somebody says 134. Let's check our chart. 134. All right, so here's the next question. Did we design this with DFS in it? So let's go back to our configuration, go down here to 5 gigahertz. Are our channels in the DFS range? Oof, our channels are in the DFS range. So guess what's going to happen? When DFS is detected on these channels, these access points are going to drop the traffic. They're going to run their back off timer. Then they're going to do a clear to send. And if they don't hear any radar traffic, then we're going to start transmitting again. So, oh, hey, Jerry, you missed a whole lesson on designing 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi networks. So, and I was just saying there's a lot of professionals out there who are selling these solutions, and that was not geared at anybody necessarily on the live stream. But that I know now, I know that this will start popping up other places. I did not invent this. I learned this years ago, and it's the same model that I've been using. And I read about RF and I read other people's information. So I did not do this, but I know this will start popping up other places now. So maybe I'll take a picture, put it on social media, because there is some people who could definitely use this. They're out there installing Wi-Fi, and they don't understand how to properly do this. Okay, so back to... So we're going to call this designing 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi networks. Networks. Jeez Louise. Rename. All right. So this is how you should do it. I took my picture of this and by the way, I'm going to add one more thing here before DFS. So it's going to say beware DFS channels in use. There. Now I'm going to retake the picture of this, because what will happen is once I post a picture of it, somebody will take this and they'll use the DFS channels, and then I'll get a nasty email about how their Wi-Fi didn't work properly.